Hello, this is Naughty Aguilar at Functional Patterns. For today's video, I'm going to show you another great hamstring stretch that I just discovered not too long ago. I was trying to do a downward facing dog a few days back, and there was something that I noticed every single time I tried to get my spine into a neutral position when I was really trying to get myself into a deep arm flexion, and it was that my pelvis kept posteriorly tilting at the point where I'd come down here and I'd posteriorly tilt because I didn't have flexibility in my hamstrings. Oftentimes what people will do to compensate for that is that usually they'll create some kind of a hyperextension in their thoracic spine. So then at that point it may give the appearance that they don't have that posterior tilt present. Me being cognizant of that, I know that I don't want to have a hyperextended T-spine, so I had to find a way to regress this technique because I know I want to be able to have that kind of a flexibility in my posterior chain and have that kind of a tensegrity in my superficial backline, but I realized that it was going to be somewhat limited because the technique was just too progressed. So then I started playing around and I experimented with something and I found something pretty cool. So what you're going to need is actually just a wall. It's going to be very basic the way you're going to do this, and I'm just going to cue you guys on a few simple things to help you get the most out of this specific stretch. So for one, what you're going to want to do is maybe about 2.5, 3 feet from the wall, maybe about 2.5, 3 feet from the wall. So we'll just keep it at that. And what you're going to do is point your feet straight forward in this fashion, and you're going to bring your hands on the wall in this fashion as well. From there, what you're going to do is begin to hinge your hips from here and drop your chest down in this position here. And what you'll then want to do is actually start to move your knees forward a little bit. And what's going to get you this stretch as you come down is actually you pushing off the wall in the fashion that I am right now. As you guys can see, I'm pushing off the wall. If anything, I think I might need a little more space. And when you begin to push off the wall as far as you can, and you try maintaining the position of your thoracic spine and anteriorly tilting your pelvis, you might already begin to feel a stretch right here in the hamstrings. Oftentimes, if I tell you to reach down and do a stretch here, because you don't have maybe a certain structural integrity in your core, what you then may begin to feel is maybe a little bit of pressure in your lumbar spine. Since we're making the forces go horizontal off the wall here, we might not necessarily get that kind of an effect happening in the lumbar because there's no vertical pressure going onto the lumbar here. So for some of you that have problems activating your core while you're in this hip flex position, this will be a really helpful thing to cue. So really, again, we're just pressing on the wall. If you are more advanced and you're doing your anterior tilt, you have a neutral spine, you're not hyperextending your T-spine, you're actually just at normal extension, then from there what you can start to do is crawl down the wall from here. You can even bend your knees, crawl down the wall, and your goal should be to try and maintain as much of a neutral spine here at the lumbar until you begin to feel that stretch, and I think that's about where I'm reaching my limit here. You can hang out there for about 30 seconds to a minute, do it in sets. It's really intense when you start getting it down. What's best about it is that you can pinpoint it, you can adjust your body because you've reduced the stress. When you're in that downward facing dog, that's a little bit of a stressful position, and honestly for most people that are doing that specific technique, it's usually too progressed. That's definitely an advanced kind of exercise, and it's an advanced kind of a stretch. So here's an idea that you can throw into your program to try and get yourself a little more prepared before you go into that downward dog. Hopefully I'll be able to nail that thing down here in the next couple weeks. I'll let you guys know about it. This is Naughty Aguilar at Functional Patterns, reminding you to stretch intentionally and not habitually. I'll see you guys soon.